Welcome to the Regenerative Collaborative South Africa. The following is a video segment from July's Timber webinar.
So by the end of 2018, we'd wrapped up the concept, but we had probably quite detailed concept drawings. Like I said, more actually stage 3 drawings. We started to develop quite a lot of the technical details, and these are those drawings. You can see the build-up of the envelope. I'll get into that in a bit later detail. There, a cross-laminated timber box, basically, which is insulated and then waterproofed and then clad with timber. We submitted to council and we got approval, but it wasn't that simple because at that stage, cross-laminated timber wasn't, there wasn't a SANS code for it. So the cross-laminated timber supplier was XLAM, Jamie from XLAM, and they had to provide a whole lot of certification documentation. So they had tests commissioned by the University of Stellenbosch, and we had to supply all of that information to the local authority. But the approvals process, I must take my hat off to the Overberg municipality, and be careful not to say anything about the Cape Town municipality, but it was pretty quick and pretty swift considering the technicality, or let's say, the out of code technology that we were using here. So, yeah, the client didn't want a quantity surveyor involved, and we were convinced they were going to get some pricing from contractors locally. So they did, but the prices they were getting back didn't quite, weren't comparing apples with apples, of course. And 2019, they asked us for some assistance with procurement, but then in 2020, COVID hit, and also prior to that, there were some very bad fires in Betty's Bay. So the fires actually decimated their site, burnt down all the trees that we designed the building around, which I kind of laugh about now, but it was quite devastating for them. And then COVID hit, so they put everything on hold. And yeah, in June 2020, we sat down together again, and they, asked us to really relook at this thing because they really wanted to cut down on the accommodation requirement because they realized that the budget was just not going to work with or the cost to build it wasn't going to work with their budget. So to cut down on the accommodation, really, this was an opportunity, as one has to see these things. And we looked at replanning it and repurposing it. So I saw this was a great opportunity to lose the masonry element altogether. So we'd get rid of this masonry element and just have this little tree house, which is actually more true to the concept, a tree house, which is what they were looking for. We take that out, we create a big bridge, we keep it in the same place. We replanned it, like you can see this plan here was a sketch I did to kind of replan it. And we just create a big bridge, from the parking area into the building. And Kerry was really excited about that, and it worked for them. The plan at that stage was actually to do almost 2 phases, to do this as a first phase and then come back with the other phase. But I think, as it's realized now, they don't want to change a thing. So, yeah, the design, I think, is even more elegant than it was before, and simple. So the arrival, what we did here as well is the parking is kind of on the left within the stone wall, and then you kind of pushed back to come down a ramp. So the whole sense of arrival is a little bit mysterious, and you got this winding path kind of from the parking area down onto the bridge and then into the treetops. And the house is pretty much hidden within the treetops. You walk down this bridge and then pop out into this timber box. This is a large opening to the north. There's a pergola design which hadn't been installed yet at this stage on the north, shading the northern sun. You can see how you see right through into the treetops beyond. And the south facade is pretty much all sliding stacking frameless glass. with the steel posts externalized. You can just see one black steel post there, pretty hidden. You can see that element there, if you can see my cursor. And the externalized steel posts really allow the glazing to be continuous. The structural engineer was Mark Hutchinson from Structim Consulting, who was really great and also excited to explore some of these. We're really pushing the structural limitations of the cross-laminated timber to the max. The timber fins you can see, there's that steel externalized post. The timber fins are baboon proofing, so you can open the whole thing up, but there is a risk that baboons get in, and we didn't want to slat the whole thing. So you can open up portions of it and just leave it open, and those slatted timber fins then act as baboon proofing. Then also no downlights in this building. One of the things with the cross-laminated timber is we didn't want to, you can't really chase into it too much. You can't chase. You have to actually pre-cut the panels in the factory for all the conduiting. So we elected to do as little of that as possible and use LED lighting, strip LED lighting, and standing floor lamps. And the client bought into that. Actually they also were keen on not having downlights. So this worked really well. So now obviously we needed to submit another building plan to council. So because as you know, or if you don't, you can't get occupancy on half a building. It has to be a full building. And the client was also financing the build, so the banks required an approved plan matching what they were applying for. So we took instruction from them to prepare a new submission to the local authority. Importantly, we also agreed that we should develop technical documentation for the project to assist in getting better, more detailed costings and to aid the construction process. They were clear, though, that they were going to manage and build this project themselves. When I say build it themselves, obviously manage all the subcontractors and everybody, which was quite a task to take on board. The Jamie and his team from XLAM provided us with a lot of technical details to understand the cross-laminated timber construction capabilities and the technical detailing. So you can hear, these are our details that we developed with the help of Jamie, showing how that envelope gets made up. We don't really have time to go into too much detail, but it's a layered system. So the cross-laminated timber is the solid bits you can see here, but it has a vapor barrier over it. Then there's insulation with battens and then counter battens, and then we had a board to close up the cavity space and insulation and protect it from weather, and then the slats on top of that. That detail changed. We eventually ended up going with a composite lunar wood panel that did both the job of that weatherboard and the slat all in one. So so there you can see it. That's the composite lunar wood panel, which is a heat-treated timber. And here you can see the curvilinear south facade, which large glass openings and large timber slats acting as the baboon proofing, as I mentioned. So that curvilinear south facade is really contrasted on the north by a much more rectilinear facade, which is really responding to the room geometries, and then the windows framing views out to the mountains. So, and then also getting in lots of nice north natural light. The structure itself, so this is the cross-laminated timber box, which is really the shell of this house. Walls, floors, and roof itself, all cross-laminated timber. The south edge and that curvilinear edge you can see is cantilevered off the steel beam. So we're really pushing to achieve this curve, and we had a lot of discussions about softening the curve, pulling the curve back, to try limit the amount of cantilever. But I felt, if this thing was going to work, it had a curve, and it had a curve like properly. Otherwise, so it was quite a thing structurally to get this to work. That doesn't only cantilever, but it's also, that cantilever is actually supported by those steel posts on the outside as well. When I say supported, it's actually held from above. So there's more structure above, picking up that curved edge, and then that steel post is actually supporting in tension. So basically that cantilever is also hanging off of that steel post, which is supported from above. So yeah, quite a creative structural solution to achieve this. So that's just an extract from one of the structural drawings showing those steel post positions and the beam below. And yeah, all of the cross-laminated timber walls you can see are part of the structure supporting the slab above with a combination of steel posts and beams. There you can see it all working together nicely. And then another interesting part of the structure was the foundations. So this is a steel pile cap. The whole building is founded on these steel pile caps with steel piles. These are driven by hand. So there's 3 guys, you know, and those are the foundations of this building. So no concrete was used in the making of this building and the foundations anyway. So no concrete trucks driven, no heavy machinery driven onto site. So really as light a touch on the environment as possible. Oh, it's actually a video, but we don't need to see that. This is the steel structure going up for the first time. I actually had to take it down because they got a few things wrong and reinstall it. But, you know, and of course, yeah, the client was managing it. No main contractor overseeing it. So this was their first introduction to building, a rude awakening for them. And the cross-laminated timber structure in its raw form going up. Yeah, so you can see a bucky there. There's no big, there's a small lightweight, a small crane, no big cranes used, heavy machinery. Yeah, how cool is this pool? It's a freshwater eco pool. The client was inspired, well, her inspiration was, she said, I wanted a pool that must be like Lady Anne Barnard's bath. And her uncle actually builds eco freshwater pools. So he designed and built this thing together with us. We were involved in it, but I mean, I can't take credit for the final shape of this. He says, you know, he was inspired by the curvilinear kind of shape of the house, and he showed me his hand sketches and everything. We tweaked a few things, but this, I mean, it's pretty spectacular. So, and yeah, all natural water from the site, which then this then reactivates that kind of dry river stream. So there are frogs and birds that come and join you in the pool here. Yeah, so to wrap up from a timeline perspective, we did a second council submission in July 2020, in September, October, technical documentation, and they started construction in June 2021, and it was completed in August 2023. So 2 and a bit years to build it yourself. But the product really kind of exceeded expectations, and the client was very happy with the outcome. They've said to me, being involved in the process, you know, for them, and seeing all of the hands and that go into making a building, they really appreciate what a craft it is. You know, as such, they didn't want any finish to go into the building that they didn't know whose hand had gone into making it. So beautiful James Mudge furniture. Those green tiles are Kolki ceramic, local ceramic tiles. And those tiles on the floor, I can't remember the name of the supplier, but they're all made locally. And the green fleck you can see in them is actually recycled wine bottles, which are used in the tile mix. Yeah, so that's all we've got time for. So thank you very much.
Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more inspirational content.